Hi, I'm Morgan Hines, and I'm in the Phocuswire studio with Lindeen Cleary of Tourism Tasmania and Ricarda Lindner of German National Tourism Board. Welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having us, Morgan.
I think this is going to be a really fun discussion. So let's kick it off with a very widely discussed topic, AI. What use cases are you finding internally and externally in your work?
Want to get started or you want me?
You go first, Ricarda.
Okay. So we actually use AI by now for a wide range of different activities. We do research, we do PR pitches with it. We actually do campaign evaluations. We do campaign setups with it. We do also fun stuff. We do pictures or maps. We just created maps for a PowerPoint presentation. So we really use it for a whole variety of things. And by now we started doing our custom GPTs just to make sure that we made them really to our tasks that our colleagues are struggling with, or not struggling with, but I call them the time eaters.
Yeah.
And I said, like, what are the time eaters that we can improve and can have help with? So we use them for really a variety of things by now.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and for us internally, it's similar. It's sort of looking at what are the mundane, so to speak, tasks that we can free people up from to really focus on being creative and strategic. So looking for efficiencies, looking for ways to just get started on something that you otherwise might spend hours trying to figure out. And efficiencies around things like when we work with our tourism operators on our off-season program, for example, where we're asking them to come up with a special offer for the winter season.
Yeah.
We've really cut out a lot of time in that process, which is also great for our operators. Great in that they then want to participate because it's so much easier for them. So
we just had a specialist come in and give us like a little bit of a class on AI and the different forms and what we can do and what we haven't thought about what we can do. And now our team has a lot of fun learning to do the proper prompt and using one AI to write the prompt for the other AI. So every day I'm getting emails from my colleagues saying like, oh, look what we tried again. So it's a fun experiment.
Yeah. How important would you say education is in terms of internal use with AI?
I think very important because not everybody's on the same level. Yeah. I don't know if you feel the same way, but you have early adopters that naturally gravitate to that. And then you have others that think like we don't know really what to do with it. And also different fields. In a PR field or in a marketing field, it's maybe easier to apply than in a sales situation where it's more face-to-face and human connections and all of that. So,
and I think it's educating people that it's not a tech tool, it's a mindset, right? You're trying to build a habit. It's a daily habit, and you get to the point where you go, it's just natural that you turn to it for help in the right circumstances, of course, but always making sure that you've got the human element in there as well. That's what we've been really focusing on as our brand is at Tourism Tasmania is so focused on authenticity and human nature that we need to make sure people understand this isn't getting AI to do your job for you. It's just helping save time. And
to kickstart, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's also interesting is just seeing all these different tools and what they bring to the table and what is really working with what that needs a specialist, or at least in our situation, when is Perplexity better than ChatGPT and Claude and whatever.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a lot of really interesting and exciting possibilities, but what have the challenges been in terms of implementing AI?
I think for us, we're still quite early on in the journey, and so the challenges so far have been exactly what I just mentioned, which is getting people to not fear it, and that there's ways you can use it that you feel comfortable with, and that the benefits far outweigh the challenges probably, and just getting to that point where people understand how it can be used has been our challenge so far.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have an external tool. We have an AI generated guide that gives customers in real time hyper coordinated and hyper personalized information about Destination Germany. So it's always a question about quality check and the right information and authenticity. And we just had the conversation, can we actually make a destination video, or is that not authentic enough? And that human connection, and also a trust that we say, like, whatever we create with AI, we mark as such and say, like, well, we did have a human eye look over it, but it is originally created with AI. So I think there are still a couple of routine things that we have to implement in our quality check with that.
And I think from a visitor perspective for us, it's the thing I worry about is how do we ensure that AI isn't just surfacing the big well-known destinations and operators and experiences. That's great if that's the hook to get them interested in our destination, but there's so much more under the surface that we don't want to get lost. So we're working on how do we make sure our content is the credible source, the authentic source, as you said, but also surfacing all of the operators and just the smaller businesses that are so core to our destination and our brand aren't getting lost in that. And I don't think we've nailed that yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah. What kind of work does that, sorry, to go ahead.
No, I think we don't want to get the curation of our own content and of our own product sort of out of hand entirely. At least we're not quite ready for that.
Yeah. So what kind of work does it require for you all to make sure that what you want to be surfaced, whether it's those smaller local operators or anything else, what does that take on the back end?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is it's the technical solution, but it's also the education piece.
Right.
So we've been out doing what we call master classes. We're not necessarily masters in this, but doing sessions with industry operators to help set them up to understand, because it is such a overwhelming idea, AI, if you're not in it yet. So we've been working with them to help them understand that their content needs to be, really clear, really factual in order to surface, and to think about things like answering the questions that people are going to be asking. So it doesn't mean having pages of FAQs, but just weaving into the content all of the answers to all of the questions that people are likely to ask about their business or their experience, and then feeding that through to our content as well. But any advice from anyone here at the conference will be greatly absorbed by me while I'm here.
I can only second that. Well, we have created an open data graph where the entire German tourism industry can feeds their information into a structured form of a data graph, which allows us a little bit of more quality control. We know what the AI is reaching out to that data graph. We know that the content is valid. And as it contains an internal structure, it's also easier for any AI or search engine to have access to the information. So it's for us a way to stay relevant in the flood of information and the World Wide Web.
So with that in mind, the access to data you just mentioned, how much has data fragmentation been an issue for you all as you work to do this?
I think data is available now everywhere. And that was probably one of the starting points that we said, I don't know how many times we have the opening time of the Museum X in the guidebook, in the local website, and the city website, and the state website, and the country website, and then in our guidebooks on top of it. So that's why we started out and said, what, we have to consolidate all of this and bring this into one structure to stay relevant and be found by any crawler, by any AI, and by any website. So I think the fragmentation is a challenge, and that's why we started that project. It is ongoing. There's no end to it. It is, but it's a good path forward, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
And I guess being destination marketing organizations, we don't transact, right? Generally, we don't drive revenue. We don't actually sell directly to the customer. So you've already got data fragmentation is always a challenge for DMOs.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. And obviously, social media has been a big part of destination marketing in the last few years. And so what you just said brings me to a question about that, actually. How are you measuring return on investment with partnerships with social media influencers or campaigns like that?
Well, I think in our case, we do work with micro-influencers that help us create fresh content to our social media platform, mostly Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And obviously, they use that content on their pages. One of our major points is time, engagement, of course, eyeballs and views in any shape or form. These are the regular KPIs that we're using, but we also created our own AI influencer called Emma. She was created based on different sinus milieus and groups that we wanted to target. And Emma has her own Instagram account. I think she has 30,000 followers.
Popular.
And I think she posts 3 times a week and travels throughout Germany and gets especially those hidden gems a little bit away from the blockbusters, and is our own influencer on our way out. So of course there we also very closely measure the reactions and the communication that we get and the feedback that we get.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ours is very similar. Brand alignment is so important to us. We're never going, it sounds like you're the same, we're never going for pure reach, pure numbers. Right. It's always, is this person right for delivering our brand message? Do they actually understand our destination? And are they speaking to our audience? And no amount of high volume numbers can outweigh that kind of level of authenticity. And engagement is the most important metric. So shares, comments, are people actually understanding and responding to our message is far more important than just a like or a reach number for us.
That makes sense. And can you go a little bit more into what it means to build a brand to drive demand?
Mm-hmm. I could talk for hours about that, but for us, it's starting with the authenticity of the place, and I mean we did a huge piece of brand work years ago where we talked to hundreds of Tasmanians, both in the tourism industry and just in the local community, to understand what does Tasmania mean to them and what are they proud of, what are the challenges in our place, and then that all became the work that we then turned into our brand platform, which has come down for air. And in doing that, I think we landed in a place that, we've always been able to be anchored in authenticity and true meaning of the place, rather than just a logo and a color palette and beautiful imagery, because there is so much more to the destination than that. And we have very consistent, clear brand guidelines that we follow around tone of voice and the look and feel of the brand. And so every partner we work with, every agency, every content creator gets to look at that and really understand where we're coming from.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think we're totally aligned. We have done, we haven't done really that deep research with our constituencies on the ground, but I think for us it was important to define our USP within the country. In Europe was important to how do we distinguish ourselves and our destination from others, and how can we tell that story the best way. And that was sort of like the starting point of defining also our brand. But as you say, we're very strict stewards of our brand, and make sure that through influencers or any kind of media that goes out, our brand guidelines are being followed and being adhered to worldwide.
Yeah. And I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about geopolitical tensions and the economy. That's obviously been a rapidly developing, changing situation. How has that impacted things for you as you continue your work? Have you seen a difference in demand? How have you changed marketing to address this?
For us, 2024 was the stellar year. I know we're always referencing 2019 before COVID, but that is for us over 2024. And I think for the entire tourism industry was that the extraordinary year. And so we're benchmarking now 2025 with geopolitical challenges against that stellar year. And so we actually see a decline, and all our research shows us that we see the decline. I sometimes like to use the hotel stars with that. We see the decline in the 4 and 3 star category, or 3 or 4 star traveler category, and the 5 star, the affluent, well-educated international traveler, still holds true and still continues to travel. But the lower end that we also have enough product for is contemplating or is rethinking their travel plans. Given the current situation.
Interesting. Okay.
And I'd say we're seeing this very similar trend. Being off an island at the edge of the world, we're a little removed, but also potentially more affected, because it does feel there's a perception that it may be a little longer to get to Tasmania. But at the same time, our offering has become so much more relevant, so much more needed. People are looking for that, reset, that headspace, just time out, where it's a little bit more about getting more out of life, because time is limited, rather than just escaping from the stress of life. So I don't necessarily think that's popping up in our numbers. We recovered very strongly after COVID, and then that sort of, evened out as it did for everyone, I think. But seeing a similar trend in that the higher end, the higher value traveller that we really do target doesn't seem to be as affected as sort of the middle end of the market.
Yeah.
When we talk to our US tour operators, they always tell us that the call volume in their call center increases and decreases with the stock market. And that is like the major indicator. And again, if I may talk in hotel star category, the 5-star traveler is less dependent on this. They're not paying their travel with their stock portfolio.
Right.
But also one other challenge that we're seeing is the declining US dollar, the exchange rate. And I think it's about 15% on a daily fluctuating rate, of course. And we feel that as well.
Yeah. Interesting. And one other issue that's been widely talked about is sustainability. And so I'm curious to see where you both see your role in fitting in kind of the battle against over-tourism. What are you doing to promote, maybe it's shoulder season that you're promoting, or maybe it's different destinations within your destination or different experiences. Where do you see your role in that mitigation?
Yeah, so we're doing a few things in that space. Firstly, around seasonality, we're definitely a destination that has a lot more visitation across the warmer months. But we recognised that a few years ago and made a long-term plan to try to start to smooth that out across the year. And we've done that through creating a platform called the Off-Season, which is about driving winter visitation, particularly in the cooler months. But just getting travellers to think differently about what a winter holiday can be.
Right.
And getting our tourism operators to think about thriving through the winter months, not just surviving, because that's was the case a few years ago.
Yeah.
So, and we're now seeing 5 years in that is starting to have an impact, both from a brand metrics perspective and a visitation perspective. So that's great in terms of the sustainability of the industry. And then in terms of, environmental sustainability, we have a key pillar in our whole program called Positive Impact, of which environmental sustainability is a big part. We have a sustainable visitation framework where we look at the parts of the state that are getting less visitation and try to understand why and build strategies to get people dispersed into those areas. And that's a whole of government, whole of state approach. We can't do that alone. We have to work with all of our key stakeholders to make sure that everyone understands what the challenges are and how we can work together to resolve them in the long term. It's never a quick fix.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think we feel the seasonality so much.
Yeah.
In our destination, we've done a year-round destination, have always been, and I think seasonality is something a little bit of the past almost.
Yeah.
And if I look at our numbers, especially from the US market, we always see, and this is not only for Germany, that's across the board for most of the European countries, is that we have very strong leading up in Q2 but then a big month of August, we have a decline, not a decline, but we have less Americans coming, and then starting again in September.
Okay.
And obviously we have an Oktoberfest in September. We have the Christmas market starting in November. So we really are a year-round destination, have always been. And we're lucky that we're not a mono destination. Really, our travel disperses equally throughout the country, which means we're also not focusing, or we're not suffering from over-tourism, because we do have a quite varied product line, and people are going to different places.
Got it. And as we wrap up, let's look ahead. Can you tell me in one sentence your biggest priority for 2026? Or your top priority?
I'll jump in. I think I'll say we have a number, but I think just given what we've just been talking about, a big focus for us will continue to be seasonality.
Yeah.
And I hope to be standing here in a few years' time and saying it's a thing of the past, like you, Ricardo. That would be amazing.
I think making sure that the destination stays a destination for all travelers. I think the travel industry is more than just visiting a site or going to the beach. I really think we're a peace industry, and we foster understanding and tolerance. And I think it's important that we remain a destination that's open for everyone, no matter what the budget, no matter what the age group.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.